thank you for weathering the cold and whatever to come out and listen tonight and learn a little bit about the Blood Center. I do want to talk about the programs that we offer because as a small community blood center, our focus is really to partner with your community. We don't just come in and host blood drives and take the blood and leave. We really try to work a lot in the community. We participate in health fairs, and we have a grant program for schools, and we have a donor loyalty program that we offer. And so tonight I want to tell you a little bit about some of those things. Start out, though, with why we're really all here. Sophia, I'd like to introduce her to you.
Oh, well, I didn't know I was going to have to bring my glasses.
Oh, no. Do you want to borrow mine? Would they work?
You could use mine, sure, which won't be able to see.
So is this Sophia's
Yep,
story?
that's Sophia's.
That
Okay.
says Meet Valerie.
That says
You want
Val.
Sophia.
That one's Sophia. Yep. You can show either one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've had over 100 transfusions in 1 year. As a child, I was very sickly, had a lot of blood transfusions. That's because a sickle cell crisis brings about great pain throughout our bodies. I mean, if you can imagine, your blood cells are shaped like sickles, crescent moons, and as they're passing through your veins, they get intertwined with one another and they get stuck. And when they get stuck, they can't do the job that they're supposed to do, which is deliver oxygen to your vital organs in various parts of your body. And with that happening, that causes great, great pain. I need the blood transfusions to survive. And when you have lots of blood transfusions like myself, you begin to develop antibodies. So when I develop antibodies, it takes even longer to find the blood that I need. Sickle cell disease affects a majority of African Americans. I'm hoping that there's no stigma behind African Americans donating blood. For some reason, we don't like to come and donate the blood. I'm not sure if it's because we feel like we have some type of, ailment or something that may hinder us from donating. We can all do our part to help one another, and donating blood, or at least trying to, you would greatly help people such as myself with sickle cell disease and others. Blood donation does save lives.
So over 100 transfusions in a year. Amazing. One of the best parts of working at the Blood Center is just the fact that I get to meet people all the time who are just like the recipients that you're going to hear from here, and just really hear their stories. And one of the things that always strikes me is that your blood donation doesn't just help that patient. If you saw the picture, she has a whole family around her. And every time she receives a blood transfusion, that affects not only her, but also all of her family. The fact that she's still with us makes a big impact on their lives as well. So always as we go through and we talk about a lot of the, who we are and where we are and the criteria for donating, but really the main focus of what we do is to help patients so that their families are all still whole. I am going to tell you a little bit about our history. We were established in 1974, and we're based in Davenport, Iowa, so we're not very far away. We are a 501c3, not-for-profit. I know a lot of times when we come into a community and we're new to that community, people say, well, what's the difference between you guys and the Red Cross, or the Red Cross and you guys? Basically, we're both not-for-profits. We are both licensed by the FDA, so you have to answer the same annoying questions, whether you donate with us or with the Red Cross, and you have to do it every time. The process is all the same. The difference is the hospitals that we serve. And so as Sherry told you when she started the evening, your blood does help patients locally here now. We do have a lab in Davenport. If you ever have a group or even as an individual that you would like to come and tour the blood center, we love to show off what we have. We have a state-of-the-art lab. Our distribution center, we are always looking for volunteers who like to drive, either to come and pick up blood from the blood drive and take it back to the lab so they can start processing it, or to deliver blood that's been processed and bring it back to the hospitals. And so if anybody has some free time and they would like to volunteer, we love to have people who do that. Our admin offices are also in this building, and we have a donor center. We're right off the intersection of Interstate 80 and 74 in the Quad Cities, so really easy to get to if you ever want to come visit. We have 677 employees. They're not all in that building. We also have, and I did bring some things that as you leave tonight, if you want to pick them up, you're welcome to. This is our service area. So we also have hubs. We have an office in Ottumwa. We have a hub in Dubuque. We have in Muscatine, Iowa, Iowa City, Iowa, Springfield, Urbana. We have a hub down in St. Louis, in Madison, Wisconsin. So we're kind of spread out. And all of those 677 employees are spread out through all of that area. Some of them work at donor centers, some of them work in labs, some of them work in mobiles. So just a lot of different jobs at the blood center. We also have about 350 active volunteers, and we could not do what we do without the volunteers. We have 18 donor centers total for people to come in and donate blood, and we operate about 5,000 mobile blood drives a year. So about half of our blood supply comes from mobile blood drives, where we come out to the donor. The reason for mobile blood drives is twofold. One, it's more convenient for you guys to come here to the hospital and donate than to say have to drive to Davenport to support your local blood supply. The other reason that we really have mobile blood drives a lot is because it's a great way for us to get education to a group. So if I work with a church or I work with a school, I work with one person, one point of contact, and that person then gives that education to the members of that church or the faculty of that school or the student body. So it's a great way for us to get information out and to bring in new donors. We collect about 180,000 blood donations a year to meet the patient need that we have. Our mission really is to provide world-class blood products and services to communities that need blood. Communities in need. So while we do have specific hospitals that we provide blood for, we also are in a network with some other blood centers across the nation. There's an organization called America's Blood Centers, and about 55 to 60% of the nation's blood supply is provided by small community blood centers like ours. And since we network together and we work together, if Hurricane Katrina, similar to that, hits, all of us in the network are able to help the blood center that's really struggling at that point. If there's a 4-day blizzard in Denver and they can't operate their blood drives and they have to close their donor centers, they're going to need help. And so we can all work together to help each other. And that network is a vital piece across the nation to make sure that every product gets used and every patient gets the product they need. We do serve locally 110 hospitals in Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Missouri. We do always have jobs as well. I had mentioned volunteers earlier, but if anybody wants to join our team, either as a volunteer or as an employee, always something going on. If you would like to host a blood drive, I do have a sheet out in the lobby that talks about what it takes to host a blood drive. So if your church, if your Lions Club, if your Rotary, something like that, would like to host a blood drive, give me a call. You can give blood. You can talk to Michelle or Connie right over there, and they will sign you up because they have a blood drive 2 weeks from today. So do that. We do participate in some research studies, and so we give our donors an opportunity to join a group called BioLinked, and they let donors know then, they would let that donor know, hey, we're doing this research, would you be willing to participate? And that is good for all of us, so that in the future, we have even better treatments for patients. We do also use a lot of social media. I do Facebook, that's about the limit to my technology, but there are a lot of groups that do blood drives that I'm going to talk a little bit in a couple slides about our age demographic, and so we do have a lot of young folks who use a lot of those. So to be a blood donor, you do have to be 17 years old, 16 with a parental consent form, weigh at least 110 pounds, and be in general good health. Most medications are acceptable. I always add that. If you got a tattoo and you went to a licensed facility, you don't have to wait. You can come on in and donate, things like that. So I always encourage people to ask if they have a question about their eligibility. You can donate whole blood every 56 days. So that's why CGH actually hosts a blood drive every other month, because the same person can donate at all 6 blood drives. If you donate what's called a double red donation, you donate the equivalent of 2 red cells, but you get your other products back. You can only do that every 112 days, so you can come to 3 of the 6 drives. Just skip every other one, and you can still come here and donate. And we do always encourage people, if you're sitting here tonight and then a couple weeks from today you think, you know what, I'm going to go over there and donate, make sure to bring a valid photo ID. Again, we do have a social media presence. If any of you follow any of these, feel free to hop on. Our Blood Center webpage is bloodcenter.org, and there's all kinds of fun things there. If you click onto one of the recipient stories, there's actually a whole page of names, and all of those names are recipient stories that you can check out. So I told you we were going to talk a little bit about the age demographics. One of the things that we have just recently developed is an associate board. If you come to the blood drive in February and you look at the average age of the donor, what do you think the average age of our blood donor is right now? Anybody?
40.
40. Actually much higher than that. It's like 55, yeah. So one of the things that we've seen is that we get a lot of high school students who donate blood. About 15% of our blood supply comes from high school students. And I give them all the credit in the world. It's great that they come out and donate. Yesterday we did a drive at Prophetstown High School and had a lot of young people come in for the very first time and donate blood. So about 15% of our blood supply in a year comes from high school students. And we get a good number of college students who donate. We have a lot of colleges that host blood drives. And then we kind of don't see them for a number of years. And I think what happens is people are trying to start their careers, start their family. If you have grandkids or great-grandkids, you know that they are in everything. And parents are taxiing them around to try to get them to everything they need to be in. And so that 20 to 49-year-old age group, we don't see them as much. We do see them more at mobiles than at centers. They do come in when we do drives, like at the company they work at or something like that. On the opposite end, if our average donor is 55 years old and we get all these units from the high school age, we have a lot of 80-year-old donors that are still coming in and donating because they're in good health, and so they've continued to donate. So that's pretty cool. But one of the things that we're doing is we've started a special project just in the last few months to try to engage more of those people aged 20 to 49. What can we do to bring them in? How can we make it easier to get them in the door? One of the things that we are doing is we want to speed up their process, and so we have what's called early queue. And if you log onto your computer before you come to the blood drive, say while you're drinking your coffee in the morning, or while you're on break at work, or while you're not on break at work, you can actually answer all of your questions ahead of time. So when you come into the blood drive, you're ready to go right to the part where they check your vitals. So it's kind of like the fast pass at Disney, I tell people. You can pick these up as well if you're interested in that. If you come in and donate and you do anything on the computer, you're welcome to use that. But those are the kinds of things we're trying to implement so that we can engage those younger people. We do have, this is a program I really wanted to talk about, because if you have children, grandchildren, even great-grandchildren in school, anywhere in the area, we do partner with schools, and we have what we call the Life Savings Program. It is the one blood drive where we actually give back a monetary donation or a grant to a group that hosts the drive. And so if a school, it can be a licensed preschool, an elementary school, middle school, junior high, or high school hosts a blood drive, and at least 20 people successfully donate blood, they get grant money. They can use that money to do anything that's education related. So they can buy books, they can buy computer software, they can take a field trip, they can have a speaker come in that talks to the kids about something that they want to teach about. Anything that is basically education based. At the high school level, they can also use that money as a scholarship. So if, say, the National Honor Society tries to raise money and give a scholarship to a graduating senior, they can use it for that as well. I do have my business cards out there if you know of a group that would be interested in doing that. Certainly let them know to give me a call. I'm glad to speak with them about that. I spoke to the Morrison Rotary about a year ago now, and I work with both Morrison High School and Northside Elementary in Morrison. They've been doing blood drives since we started the grant program, so about 10 years now they've been doing blood drives. And I figured out that we have given back to that school district over $12,000 in grant money. So it does add up after a while, and it's money that teachers don't have to pull out of their pockets to buy some things for the students sometimes. So it's a great program. It's one of the ways that we partner with your community, one of the ways that we can give back to your community. So blood components. I'm going to show you a video because your blood donation can help as many as 4 patients, and this is going to tell a little bit about that.
Blood components,
Yep, that's the one. Yep.
When recruiting blood donors, it's often said that one donation can help save the lives of 3 to 4 different patients. How is that true? It's because the blood center can separate the whole blood donation into 3 or 4 different, potentially life-saving products. The bags are delivered to the component production lab for processing. This is where units of whole blood are separated into red blood cells, platelets, cryoprecipitate, and plasma. This allows blood from a single donor to be used for several patients who have different needs. Blood is separated by using a centrifuge, a process in which the blood is rapidly spun so the heavier red blood cells and plasma will separate. A second spin settles the platelets, and the plasma can be removed to isolate the platelets. Cryoprecipitate, a protein in the plasma, also requires a second spin to separate it from the plasma. Once the centrifuge is balanced and loaded, the bags are spun as specified by the product needed. When the bags are removed, the components have settled in layers with red blood cells at the bottom and platelet-rich plasma at the top. A thin line of white blood cells and platelets is also visible at the top of the red blood cells. After separating platelet-rich plasma from the red blood cells, the PRP is put back in the centrifuge for a spin at a longer period of time. This causes the platelets to settle to the bottom of the bag. The plasma is then expressed into a separate bag. This process manufactures 2 products, random donor platelets and plasma. They're called random donor platelets because this product must be pooled with other whole blood donors to create a dose of platelets for a patient. The component tech uses an expressor to continue the process of separating components. Bags are individually placed in the expressor immediately after they're spun in the centrifuge. The expressor squeezes the bag tightly so the liquid at the top of the bag flows through the sterile tubing into a separate bag intended for the other component. Every step in the process is completed and documented according to SOP and captured in LifeTech. An additive solution of sugars and salts is added to the bag to preserve the viability of the cells. A heat seal is used to permanently separate the new bag from the rest of the whole blood unit. Depending on inventory levels and patient need, collection staff will be instructed to use either triple bags or quad bags. A triple bag makes it possible to make red blood cells, platelets, and fresh frozen plasma. A quad bag allows for production of red blood cells, platelets, cryoprecipitate, and plasma. The bags provide a sterile, closed system that is used throughout the entire component production process. White blood cells are removed from whole blood using a process called leukoreduction. Leukoreduction can be achieved either by using a bag that contains an inline filter at the time of collection, or by connecting a leukoreduction filter to the whole blood unit in the component production lab. Aside from component production, testing vials from donor centers and mobile blood drives are sent to MVRBC's viral, bacterial, and nucleic acid laboratories for testing. After being spun, expressed, and separated, individual component units are labeled and held until they're cleared for release by the testing labs. Once cleared for release, components are labeled for distribution to hospitals, patients, and communities in need.
So kind of interesting, I think, the science behind that. I talk all the time about the fact that we can help more patients than just one with your blood donation.
Preparation of blood components. In the past, whole blood was the only preparation that could be administered.
There we go.
All right. Well, maybe that was a good one too. It's also about blood components, so who knows. So anyway, talking about the components. So red cells are what carry oxygen. Platelets are what clot your blood. And plasma, when I talk, especially to the kids in the schools, I explain it as it's sort of the water part of the river that carries the rest of the components. So the plasma is what really carries the red cells and the platelets to where they need to go. The cryoprecipitate that they talk about is actually a product that is given to someone, say if they have hemophilia, which is a bleeding disorder, and they're having a bleeding crisis. That's the product they give them. So if you have been to a blood drive, or if you come into a blood drive in the future and you look, you will see that there's either 3 or 4 bags that are in that tray. And I have high school students who are pretty observant, and they always say, so I have to fill all of those? and they're really apprehensive about that, and so I try to assure them right away, no, you only have to fill 1. We just need the others. The reason they're all hooked together right from the beginning is so that there's never a chance for contamination. The products never leave the tubing, so don't have to worry about them being contaminated. So sort of interesting in terms of that. One of the things that we have just started in January, we had a very successful first one, was we are now doing platelet drives on the months opposite of the blood drives here. So if you want to be a platelet donor, we do look for specific blood types to be platelet donors. It does take a little bit longer. Has anybody here ever donated platelets? So what we do is we hook you up to a machine. It draws your blood and then returns your blood, and it cycles like that, back and forth. And when it draws your blood, it actually is sending it through this machine that separates the platelets, and so you get your red cells and your plasma back, and all we keep is your platelets. In that video, it talked about the random donor platelets, that we pool those. So when we collect platelets at your blood drive here, we have to put like 6 units of platelets together to make 1 transfusion for a patient. But when you come here for the platelet drive and we draw those with a machine, that is 1 complete unit, and sometimes 2, and sometimes even 3 platelet transfusions for a patient. A lot of cancer patients, a lot of leukemia, bone marrow transplant patients are the folks who are getting those platelets that we draw with the automation, with the machine. It doesn't really, I mean, you just sit there. I encourage you to bring something to entertain yourself because it is a longer process. I donate platelets about every other week, and it normally takes me about 112 to 115 minutes. So I try to schedule when there's a TV show on that I know I'm gonna wanna watch. Gunsmoke is my favorite, for those of you who are old enough to remember the show Gunsmoke. I try to always schedule during that. But if you have some time and you are interested in being a platelet donor, we're looking for platelet donors because we wanna we will draw platelets at the February drive, but then we will have a platelet-only drive in March. Then we'll have the big drive in April and we'll draw platelets there, but then we'll have a platelet-only drive in May. The shelf life of those platelets is only 5 days. So that's why we need to collect those all the time. And that's why we talk about other, when I talked about, like, if you know a school that would be interested or a church that's interested in hosting a blood drive, it is fabulous. The ladies have done a great job in terms of collecting units at their blood drives, and they've been hugely successful. But the platelets are have to be transfused within 5 days, and so we have to always be bringing in blood all the time to make sure that we meet those needs. So kind of interesting. Does anybody have any questions about that video? Anything that's... I spoke to an elementary group one time, and they were asking me questions about that, and they wanted to know if animals could donate blood. That's when the question came up, and I said, well, I happen to know that dogs, they have blood drives for dogs, and from that point on, that's the only thing they remembered about the whole rest of my program. And they, in fact, wrote me thank you notes, and every thank you note mentioned dog blood donations. So here at CGH, we do have drives every other month, 6 drives per year. The next one is February 6th, 9:30 in the morning until 7 in the evening. We are going to now draw whole blood. We'll have machines if somebody can donate double red cells. If platelet donors want to come in, we will have machines for that. And sometimes we collect just plasma. So I have a blood drive, regular blood drive. That group hosts 6 times a year, and we have a gentleman there that is AB positive, and we really need his plasma. So we hook him up to a machine and we draw units of plasma from him. So depending on your blood type, that may be what we want. Is there a plasma center close to here? I have not even checked that out. Is there one? Peoria probably, or the Quad Cities is the closest. So sometimes you hear people talk about that they sold their plasma. They went and got paid to donate plasma. And there are centers that only collect plasma, and they do pay their donors. The difference between them and a blood center, like us or Red Cross or any other blood center, if the FDA has been very strict about that, if a product is going to go directly to a patient, it cannot be paid for. So when you hear people, a lot of college students donate plasma or sell their plasma because that's nice little extra money for them, and I get that. But it is processed and then it's used to make some pharmaceutical products and some skincare products and things like that. And so that's the difference between like a plasma center where if you hear someone say, well, I went and I went to a plasma center and they paid me, there is a medical use for that, but it doesn't go directly to patients. What you saw in the video is exactly what happens to your blood donation between you and the patient. There's testing and preparation, and we don't do anything else to it. So when you have to answer all those questions, it is because we have to have a safe product for every patient. So a couple other things that I wanted to talk about before we go on to this next slide here. We do have a donor loyalty program. Again, I like to use the word partner because we partner with groups that host blood drives, we partner with your schools, we partner with your hospitals. One of the things that we do at this high school level is we do have an award for students who donate at least 8 times. If they're not able to donate blood or they can't get 8 donations in before they donate, they can actually donate, say, 5 times and then bring 3 new donors into a CGH blood drive, and they will earn that award. Or they can host a blood drive that has at least 15 units collected at that drive. And they do have to host during one of our months of more critical needs, so there's some stipulations with that. This is an award that we created years ago. There are some studies that show that people are not committed blood donors until about the 5th time they've donated. So, and I'm sure that Connie and Michelle will agree to this, there's a lot of one and dones. They donate one time and you never see them again. And when you see them, they say, it wasn't that they had a bad experience, they just say, oh yeah, I did that. Well, that was nice that you did that, but we gave those products to patients and now we need more. And so one of the things that we implemented years ago was an award for high school students who donated. We called it originally the Gallon Grad, and now we call it the Impact Award. And the reason for that is because it gets them over that 5 donation hump, where it engages them in hosting a blood drive so that they see the importance of that. There are some flyers here if you know of a high school student that is looking for a way to earn another award. This is a great award for them to list on scholarship applications or college applications where to ask for their community service, because it does really look good. There's not that many high school students who reach this level. We give them a red cord to wear at their graduation. We come out on their awards day or their honors day and we present it to them. So it's really a nice thing. We also have an Impact Donor Loyalty Award or program. And so if you are a donor with us or you've been a donor with us, I really encourage you to go online and set up your profile in our Impact program. Every time you donate, you earn points. When you make your appointment, you earn points. When you keep your appointment, you earn points. Some days we have double points. If it's a week that's really a hard week for us to collect blood, sometimes we offer double points. And with those points, you can order things. So the t-shirts that the ladies are all wearing will be free to every donor who comes to the blood drive on February the 6th. After that promotion is over, if we have shirts left, we put them on our store, and people can actually order them with their points as well. So we have all kinds of things on our store. We have t-shirts, and we have sweatshirts, and we have fleece pullovers, and we have lunch bags, and jackets, and coats, and we just have a lot of really fun things. And it's just our way to thank you for donating. When I started at the Blood Center years ago, at every blood drive, we had a little trinket to give away. We gave away ink pens and we gave away keychains. How many of you need a keychain? No, you don't. How many of you really need like 2 or 3 more ink pens? Probably not. And so one of the things that we actually went to is where you can choose what you would like instead of us just giving away a lot of these little trinket things. And it's been really a popular thing. There are though some other benefits with this program. So you can track your vitals on this program. Since I donate more regularly, but if you come in 6 times a year and you donate here, you can actually, when you go to see your doctor next year, you can print out what your blood pressure was every time you came in here. And if your doctor says, just randomly check your blood pressure, let us know how it's doing, you can either write them down or print it out and you can show them. These are, what it was when I donated blood. It will also show you what your iron count was every time you donated. We actually had a donor a few years ago who had printed out her blood pressure, her iron count, took those 2 things into her doctor, and it helped him diagnose what was wrong with her because she could see a trend with those 2 things, like working together. And she called the Blood Center and said, you guys, this was great help, He actually said this really helped him come up with what was going on with her and treat her. So some good information there. You can also keep track of your donations. If you have donated with any other blood center, and you know how many times or approximately how many times you've donated with them, give us a call or let us know when you come to the blood drive, and we will add those units to your units in our system. Because if you are a 10-gallon donor and then I say, oh, that's nice, you've donated one time, that's really discouraging. So we want your lifetime tally to keep working, so we can actually add those to that as well. So some really fun stuff with that. You can schedule your appointment through this program. You can look for other blood drives in the area with this program. You can see when you're eligible again, all kinds of things like that. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that, and these cards are out there as well. There is a card also if you are interested in donating and haven't, or if you know of someone that you would like to maybe bring to the next blood drive. This just has some basic criteria about donating blood. And then on the back, it talks about each blood type and the products that we really want from them. One of the focuses that we have right now is right type, right time. And again, I told you about the plasma donor who we want his plasma because his particular blood type, that's the product that we need the most. If you're an O negative, anybody here an O negative? Yeah, what do we want from you? We want your whole blood. And yes, we want your whole blood and we want her red cells because she can give her red cells to anyone in this room. So we look at that, and if you pick this up, it tells a little bit about like what blood types we need for each procedure. If you're interested in being a platelet donor, it talks here about that and the blood types that we need for that. So. There is also out there a list of the blood drives for 2020 that are here, and it does have Michelle and Connie's phone numbers so that you can give them a call if you want to schedule your appointment. Any questions at this point? Any questions that you have about the blood center or donating or?
What's the minimum iron per min? I know I had an issue with that once.
Yeah, it used to be 12.5 and now it's 13 for men. Yeah, so it has gone up a little bit. Women have to be 12.5. So.
Did you notice our snacks tonight? Did anybody know the significance of the snacks?
If you have raisins, those are good for blood.
Iron.
Iron.
Prunes, iron, fig, or prunes, figs,
Figs.
raisins.
Yes, yes. Actually, anything that's really dark green. So
Yeah.
like broccoli is good, asparagus is
Spinach,
good,
kale.
spinach, kale, all those things are really good. There's lots of foods that are rich in iron, and but you can't eat them just the day before the blood drive. So you have to really incorporate them into your diet. I have people that will come in and they say, wow, I had a steak last night for supper, so my iron count would be up. Well, that's not really going to happen, and I love steak, so I'm a little bit jealous. You do have to incorporate it in your diet on a regular basis. You can't just eat something the night before and really have it raised too much. So, other questions? Any other questions? Do you ladies want to mention anything about the drives, or?
CGH has a wonderful canteen for after you donate. They have a full entrees of soups and sandwiches and our famous brownies that is named our dietary chef.
Awesome. So yeah, if you want to sign up, I think they probably have the schedule here tonight, and if you're interested in platelet donation in March, they have the schedule for that, I think, too. So.
And platelet donations can be every 7 days?
Yeah, you can donate platelets every 7 days up to 24 times a year. So we do have people who come in every other week and donate. I've gotten 24 in a year, but I'm usually aiming for 20. If I can get 20, I feel pretty good. So because it's an easy process, and when I look at the product or the patients at the other end of that, it is well worth that time that you spend. I will share that I have a relative right now whose 2-year-old is undergoing cancer treatment. And I've worked at the Blood Center. In February will be 23 years. And all these years I have always used the little phrase, the need for blood never takes a holiday. The need for blood never takes a vacation. The need for blood never takes a holiday. We need blood every day. But she was transfused on Christmas Day. And it just struck me that all those years I've said that, and now I actually know someone who was transfused on a holiday. So we do need blood every day. It's just when that patient need comes up that we need that. So, any other questions?
Are there any medications you're taking that prevent you from donating blood?
Mostly it's if you take a blood thinner. So like if you take Coumadin, for instance, then you wouldn't be able to donate. If you just do the aspirin a day therapy that a lot of people do, that's fine. That won't hurt anything. If you are going to be a platelet donor, you can't take aspirin for 48 hours before you donate. And the reason for that is that the aspirin actually puts like a little coating on the platelets, and so it's not as beneficial for the patient. So We just ask that you know, if you're doing that every day, just maybe skip it a couple days, donate your platelets, and then go right back to it. So, other than that, most medications are acceptable. High blood pressure and cholesterol meds are okay, and people who are diabetic can donate blood. Insulin shots, the insulin pills, diet controlled, the insulin pump. I actually one time was doing a sign up for a blood drive, and this guy came in and I had Krispy Kreme donuts for everybody who came in that morning. If they wanted to sign up, it was an office building. So, you know, they came in the morning, if they signed up for the blood drive in the lobby, they got a cup of coffee and a Krispy Kreme donut. And this man said to me, well, I'd love to donate, but I'm diabetic. And I said, well, you know, that's okay. As long as your blood sugars are under control, you're welcome to come in and donate. He said, really? So he signed up, and I said, you know, you're welcome to a donut, but that's probably not something that you eat. He said, oh no, I just give myself a little extra pump. And he walked away eating this donut, and I told my husband that I felt like I bought a six-pack for an alcoholic, that I was enabling him a little bit there. Really, there are not a lot of restrictions. So I encourage you, if you have a specific medication, I can always look it up for you, but most medications are okay. So.
And there are travel restrictions too.
There are some travel restrictions. So a lot of our military folks right now can't donate. If they were stationed in Europe between 1980 and 1996. I work with this a lot because for years I've worked with all the blood drives that are on the Rock Island Arsenal, and it is very discouraging for those military folks who donated blood for years that all of a sudden they can't. The big issue is that we don't have a test for mad cow disease, so we don't have a way to test that. So there are some restrictions like that. There are some places that if you travel, you have to wait a year before you can donate. But again, I really encourage you to ask. A lot of people think if they go to Mexico, they can't donate. Well, there's a lot of places in Mexico that you can go to and then come back and donate. So we have maps that we can look up where you went, and it's all based on the malaria risk, where the malaria risk is. So yeah, so if you have a travel question, be sure and let us know, and we can look it up for you as well. So, any other questions? Anything else? Let's go ahead and show the Valerie video.
Sorry, got a
That's okay.
temperamental mouse here.
Oh, Sophia's fine. Let's show.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the Sophia one because we saw Valerie. I forgot about
I know.
that. Yep.
There we go.
Sophia had some back pains, some leg pains. We took her to her family doctor, and they did a blood test in May, and the blood test came back fine, and referred her to growing pains. And then they called us that night at about 9:30 or so and said that they'd like us to go and do an MRI. They did several biopsies and testing after testing after testing, and then they told us the night of July 5th that she had stage 4 lymphoma. And it was 6 cycles of chemotherapy, so the cycles were 7 days of 24 hours of chemo, and then they basically take the next 20 days re-healing, getting you back to the point to then give you another 7-day dose. And then when your brain swells, you start to lose everything that's important. So she lost all of her functions, and they weren't sure if it was ever going to come back. Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle. It was, you go back to when they came in that first night and told us, okay, here's what it is, here's what your near future looks like. I mean, you're just going, I can't do this, you know, I don't want to do this, but you have to do it. Usually about a day or two after the 7-day chemo process, she'd start the transfusion process.
Yeah, well, I remember that gave me a lot more energy. Like, I went to, like, wanting to sleep all the time, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open to, like, just wanting to always keep them open and run around.
One time, I think it was maybe in November, maybe in between her 5th and 6th round, she thought it would be fun to watch me get poked with a needle instead of always her. So seeing the Mississippi Valley Blood Center tag on some of her blood, it brings it home. You just think of somebody that I live near, did that. So it makes it much more special and much more important.
There's kids that are just getting beat down by this all day. So if my daughter can get hundreds of shots, this is the least that we can do. And as adults, that's just what we need to do. And I was that guy that didn't realize what I was doing or what I was donating to or what the importance of that was. And unfortunately, I got to learn it the hard way.
People might think that like just them donating isn't that much, so if they don't do it, it won't make too much of a difference. But then if everyone said that, then there would be no blood. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is that every donation counts, and even if you think it doesn't really matter if you donate or not, it always does.
17% of our blood supply is used by cancer patients. The most, that is the biggest single use, is just cancer patients. I know we're in Illinois, but there's that whole deal about
Laura,
the Iowa wave and how they wave at the Children's Hospital.
Sunny.
So my dream is that all of those.
I'm just getting started and I need to save money. E-File give me the best service for the best price.
As a freelancer, the low startup.
Because all those kids in that unit that they're waving at, the majority of them are needing blood products. So if you do have other questions, feel free to stay and ask, or if you have another question, just let me know. Hopefully you will share the information that you got tonight with others. You can pick up some of this stuff on the way out and share it with others. But the one thing that I really,
If you've had a blood transfusion, can you still give blood?
Sure. You have to wait 12 months after your transfusion, and then a year, and then you would be able to donate again. Yeah, I actually have a blood drive that's going on Monday. The gal, her name is Audrey, she got 22 units of blood when she had her child in October of 2018. So it's been more than a year now. And so she's having a blood drive, and she's quite discouraged because she hasn't got quite 22 signed up yet, and she really wanted to replace, what she got. But just another example, yeah. And so she'll be able to donate at her own blood drive then. So, but at the end of the day, what we really do, it's all about keeping families whole. It's Sophia's family whole, Audrey's family whole, all the patients that, again, have that circle of friends and family around them. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, is that we keep them whole because we have that blood for them. So, thank you so much.
You can be a cancer survivor and be able to donate.
Yes, that is one thing. A lot of people think that they can't, as long as you didn't have a leukemia or a blood-related cancer. So we have a lot of prostate cancer, breast cancer, skin cancer. A lot of folks like that are able to come back and donate. And again, a year after your last treatment or your last surgery, whatever you had, yeah, you're welcome to come back and donate. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.